Meghan Markle's fakery with British Airways has just been exposed. When all else fails, when everything is going disastrously wrong, there's always a stunt involving an airplane. She is one of the worst passengers to ever travel on their airline. She was rude to the air hostesses. She tried to get upgrades. That was before she met Prince Harry. And she refused to even look after Archie on the flight. And he was crying for a long time before the nannies got involved.
On May 18th, 2026, an unexpected detail began attracting attention around what seemed like a simple anniversary gesture. A British Airways Boeing 777 operating as BA269 was preparing to depart from Heathrow Airport. Among the passengers seated in the premium cabin was one globally recognised traveller. According to reports, Meghan's name appeared on the passenger manifest. Harry's did not. Several hours into the journey, Meghan reportedly received a handwritten card from members of the flight crew. The card was addressed to Dearest Harry and Meghan. It carried a captain's signature and was accompanied by a bottle of champagne placed beside it. At first glance, it looked like a thoughtful and generous gesture from airline staff. Many people initially viewed it as nothing more than a kind anniversary surprise. But the reason this moment continues to generate discussion is not because of speculation alone. The biggest source of debate is the card itself. The questions people have raised come directly from details connected to the message, the circumstances surrounding the flight, and information publicly available elsewhere. Looking closely, there are three specific elements that stand out. Interestingly, the third detail is not even printed on the card itself. Instead, it comes from information available through British Airways' own published materials. Individually, none of these points necessarily proves anything unusual occurred. However, critics argue that when all three are viewed together,
we're merching our own wedding too. This is all extraordinary stuff, especially the fact that she claims that the British Airways crew on her flight from Europe back to Los Angeles just happened to know that it was her 8th wedding anniversary and just happened to write her this card expressing what a delight she is on the flight.
She posted this weird picture getting ready to leave for the event on cyberbullying, and the whole event was about protecting your kids from social media. And I guess she doesn't see the hypocrisy that she's posting her kid on social media.
They create a version of events that does not completely match the idea of a purely spontaneous onboard surprise. By the following morning, Meghan had shared the card on Instagram. Not long after, major media outlets quickly amplified the story. People magazine published an exclusive article that same day. Hello magazine covered it as well. GB News also discussed the story and its surrounding circumstances. Within hours, the image had spread widely across social media timelines and news feeds, ensuring that millions of people became aware of the gesture. Before examining the card itself, it helps to understand the timeline leading up to the flight. The day before BA269 departed, Meghan had appeared in Geneva, Switzerland, where she delivered remarks at a World Health Organization event. During that appearance, she discussed concerns about social media and its effects on young people and families. The following morning, she reportedly traveled from Geneva to Heathrow Airport before connecting onto British Airways flight BA269 bound for Los Angeles. Since there is no direct commercial route from Geneva to Los Angeles, connecting through London would have been a normal travel option. Public flight records and tracking information show BA269 departing Heathrow.
She leaks to People magazine, her propagandists at People magazine, that this was the crew, the British Airways crew. And she was just so touched that they loved her so much. Here's the article. Meghan Markle was moved by the kindness of a British Airways flight crew who helped ring in her wedding anniversary with Prince Harry. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex marked 8 years of marriage on Tuesday and shared a glimpse of the heartfelt gesture she received while travelling home from Geneva, Switzerland the day before. Posting to her Instagram stories, Meghan revealed a handwritten note from the British Airways flight crew thanking them publicly for helping make the occasion special. Thanks to this amazing flight crew for all the love yesterday. Appreciate all your memories and kind words, she wrote, tagging a British Airways alongside a Union Jack emoji. The card read, Dearest Harry and Meghan, wishing you a wonderful wedding anniversary with love, the whole British Airways family. Covered with signatures and personal notes, it was also marked BA269 and dated May the 18th.
slightly behind schedule before completing the long transatlantic journey to California. According to publicly accessible flight tracking data, the aircraft pushed back approximately 26 minutes late and eventually arrived in Los Angeles during the evening local time. The journey appears to have been a solo trip. Meghan travelled alone, arrived alone, and the social media post featuring the anniversary card appeared the following morning. At the same time, Harry's well-documented public comments have contributed to the conversation. In recent years, he has repeatedly spoken about his reluctance to return to the United Kingdom. There were no widely circulated photographs placing him at Heathrow during that period. Likewise, media reports covering Meghan's trip did not indicate that Harry was travelling on BA269. Coverage from People magazine, Hello magazine, and GB News all discussed Meghan's journey without identifying Harry as a fellow passenger. That distinction matters because it establishes the central question people continue asking.
A source close to the Duchess of Sussex, this is how much she wants people to know about this card, right? Tells people Meghan's flight crew was so lovely. On her way back from Geneva, they all came to say happy anniversary and shared their memories of where they were on the day. I thought Meghan thought the whole thing was horrible. The crew's gesture also included treats for the couple's children. They wrote Harry and Meghan a card and gave them a bottle of champagne and British candies for Harry and the kids. The source adds, it was very special and so appreciated by Meghan, who wanted to publicly thank them. She was truly...
She had a card that had just been prepared by Harry and the children, if you remember, with their names all over it. And this is the exact same thing. Meghan wants to prove to the world that she's adored by Harry. She always talks about, that man loves me so much, but then she also does it with the crew.
If Meghan was the only member of the couple on board the aircraft, why was the card addressed to both Harry and Meghan together? Viewed strictly through the public record, the situation appears straightforward. Meghan was returning home after international engagements. She was one passenger among hundreds travelling on a long-haul flight. She was surrounded by cabin crew, flight attendants, and the captain responsible for the journey. What public reports do not clearly show is Harry occupying a seat anywhere on that aircraft. Then came the rapid sequence of events after landing. By the morning of May 19th, the card appeared on Instagram. Later, that same day, People magazine published an exclusive article containing comments attributed to a source close to the Duchess of Sussex. Between the aircraft's arrival in Los Angeles and the publication of that article, only a relatively short period of time had passed. Observers have noted that while the Instagram post is publicly visible, much of what happened behind the scenes during those hours remains unknown. Who communicated with the media? When were briefings conducted? Who shared details of the onboard gesture? Those questions remain matters of speculation, but they form part of the broader discussion surrounding the story. This brings attention to what many consider the first unusual element of the card.
She got a fucking card from British Airlines.
And without them realizing or doing the research that anyone can get this fucking card.
Oh,
anyone in the world can go
know.
on there
Yeah.
and get that card and say it's my anniversary.
They
They're
probably
just
know,
her-
but
yeah.
they get clicks, right?
Right.
I mean, that's why they're
But
doing it. They're
they're
part
her
of this
PR agents.
Markle,
But
economy.
Even if they did it, even if British Airways went,
embarrassed.
oh my God, it's their anniversary day, we got to get
They
them a
didn't
card.
do it.
No, why would they? Nobody in the fucking crew would give a shit. Like,
No.
you think, oh, Meghan Markle's on the flight list in 2 days. Let's get her a card and all sign it. That's ridiculous.
No, they'd be in the background saying, let's pee in her
Yeah.
champagne because this
Wipe the
girl
card of my
sucks.
butt. Yeah.
So, boy, what a fail that anniversary was. Oh, what a fail. And how tragic. I mean, 8th anniversary, such a huge anniversary. Oh, my God. All
I know
this
why.
posting.
Yeah, why are they going over the top for the 8th anniversary? Oh, it's because, like he said, to flood the zone, right?
Do people normally make a big deal out of their 8th anniversary?
No.
Really? What is
The wording itself. The message was not addressed solely to Meghan. It did not say, Dear Meghan. It did not use her title. It did not reference only the passenger physically present on the flight. Instead, it read, Dearest Harry and Meghan. That wording has prompted ongoing debate because airline staff typically direct personal notes toward the traveller sitting in front of them. When crew members choose to acknowledge a well-known passenger, the message is usually written specifically for that individual. The focus is generally on the guest actually occupying the seat and receiving the card. Because of that, some observers believe the wording suggests prior knowledge of a wedding anniversary celebration. Others argue it could simply reflect an effort to honour the couple as a unit rather than Meghan individually. Either way, the wording continues to attract scrutiny because it references a person who, based on public reporting, was not travelling on the aircraft. And that leads directly to the lingering question that keeps resurfacing whenever this story is discussed. If the flight was being taken by Meghan alone, how did the British Airways crew know in advance, or at least before the card was completed, that the inscription should specifically mention both Harry and Meghan together as a couple, rather than addressing only the passenger who was actually seated on board? What makes this entire story even more interesting is what happened after the flight landed and the media coverage began rolling out almost immediately. The exclusive report published by People magazine the following day, citing a source close to the Duchess of Sussex, painted a very specific picture of events. According to that account, members of the cabin crew came over to wish Meghan a happy anniversary and even shared memories of where they were when Harry and Meghan were married back in 2018. On the surface, that's a genuinely warm image. Many crew members would certainly remember such a globally watched royal wedding. For staff members who followed the event at the time, recalling where they were on that day would not be unusual at all. It sounds personal, thoughtful, and heartfelt, but then attention returns to the card itself, because while the story being told describes a spontaneous onboard celebration for Meghan, the actual card that appeared on Instagram was addressed to both Harry and Meghan together. That's where some observers believe the details begin to pull in different directions. The only public explanation that the gesture was entirely spontaneous comes from an anonymous source speaking to a magazine. That source described a touching anniversary moment. However, the wording on the card remains unchanged and visible for everyone to see. It wasn't addressed solely to Meghan. It wasn't written specifically for the passenger seated on the aircraft. Instead, it addressed both members of the couple. The wording matters because it shapes the entire purpose of the card. The message didn't read, "Meghan, congratulations on your anniversary." It didn't say, "Best wishes on your special day." It didn't focus on the individual physically present during the flight. The inscription reportedly read, "Dearest Harry and Meghan." That is not a tiny detail tucked away in the corner of the card. That is the centerpiece of the entire message. And then there is another detail that becomes noticeable the longer you study the photograph. Not just the names, not just the wording, the handwriting itself. The main body of the card appears to be written in one style. The lettering looks careful, neat, and deliberate. Then the captain's message appears separately, written in a noticeably different hand. That suggests more than one person contributed to the finished card. Perhaps two people, perhaps several. Someone prepared the main message, someone else added the captain's note. Multiple individuals appear to have participated in creating what was later presented as a spontaneous anniversary gesture. And that brings the conversation back to the same question. Whoever wrote the primary inscription made a conscious choice to address the message to Harry and Meghan together. That wording was not accidental. Someone physically picked up a pen and wrote those names. Someone made the decision to frame the card around the couple rather than the passenger who was actually on board. The card didn't create itself. And that observation leads directly to the second major detail people continue discussing. The captain's note. Separate from the main inscription is a handwritten message reportedly signed by Captain Ed French. The note reads along the lines of, "Lovely to have you on board. Congratulations on the anniversary." Now pause for a moment and think about that wording from the perspective of somebody unfamiliar with celebrity publicity cycles. This was not simply a quick signature at the bottom of an existing message. It was not a brief "best wishes" scribbled in the corner. It was a complete sentence specifically acknowledging a wedding anniversary. It directly referenced the occasion being celebrated. That detail naturally raises additional questions. Captains on major international flights oversee hundreds of passengers. They manage safety briefings, operational decisions, weather considerations, crew coordination, and countless other responsibilities. A long-haul flight aboard a Boeing 777 is a major operation. Yet here is a captain signing a message that specifically references a passenger's anniversary. How would he know? That question is where much of the discussion begins. Commercial airlines routinely provide captains and premium cabin staff with information regarding high-profile travelers, public figures, dignitaries, VIP customers, and frequent flyers often receive special attention. That is not unusual. It is standard practice throughout the airline industry. Airlines track customer preferences. They recognize frequent travelers. They note special occasions. They attempt to improve customer experiences whenever possible. Nobody disputes that. The question is not whether such systems exist. The question is whether one of those systems played a role in this specific situation. For Captain Ed French to write a personalized anniversary message, information had to come from somewhere. Some observers have suggested that Meghan's team may have communicated details in advance. Others believe the information could have come through airline loyalty records or internal customer service systems. Still others simply assume crew members were informed through normal operational channels before departure. Regardless of which explanation someone prefers, the common thread remains the same. The information had to originate somewhere. Anniversaries do not typically appear out of thin air moments before an aircraft leaves the gate. Information generally moves through systems, briefings, profiles, notes, or communications. That is how large organizations operate every day. And this is where attention shifts toward a third detail that was never printed on the card itself. In fact, many people argue that the most important element of the entire story appears nowhere in the Instagram photograph. Instead, they point toward British Airways' own publicly available policies and customer service information. British Airways has not publicly confirmed whether the anniversary gesture was prearranged. The airline has also not publicly denied it. The company has largely remained silent regarding the story itself. However, what British Airways has explained publicly is how customer information may be used to enhance travel experiences. According to information available through airline policies and loyalty program descriptions, customer profiles can contain travel preferences, history, and various details intended to improve service experiences. Frequent flyer programs across the airline industry commonly collect this type of information. That means a mechanism exists through which airline personnel could potentially become aware of significant personal milestones. The existence of such systems is not controversial. The airline industry openly discusses customer recognition, programs, loyalty benefits, and personalized service initiatives. What remains unknown is whether those systems were involved on BA269. And that distinction matters. Many discussions surrounding this story are not actually about whether such systems exist. The real debate centers on whether they were used in this specific instance. British Airways has not publicly clarified the matter. The company has not released a statement explaining precisely how the anniversary message came together. It has not outlined who initiated the gesture. It has not publicly described what information was available to the crew. Because of that, speculation continues. Several media organizations reportedly sought clarification. Royal commentators discussed the issue. Newspapers covered the story. Yet no detailed explanation emerged from the airline itself. That silence has become part of the story. Normally, positive publicity involving a major airline and a high-profile passenger might result in a cheerful statement highlighting excellent customer service. Yet in this case, observers noted the absence of any detailed public explanation. At the same time, another conversation was unfolding around Meghan's broader media strategy during that week. Commentators pointed out that several pieces of Sussex-related content appeared in close succession. Anniversary photographs surfaced. Lifestyle branding discussions emerged. Social media activity increased. Media coverage followed. To supporters, this was simply a couple celebrating an important personal milestone. To critics, it looked like part of a broader publicity effort designed to maintain attention during a significant business period. Those differing interpretations have fueled debate ever since. Some royal commentators openly suggested that various anniversary-related stories appeared carefully timed. Others dismissed those claims entirely and argued that public figures naturally share personal milestones with audiences. As always, people reached very different conclusions. What remains undeniable is that the British Airways card became one of the most discussed pieces of content from that particular week. Some people viewed it as sweet and charming. Others viewed it as polished and strategically presented. Still others landed somewhere in the middle, believing the gesture may have been genuine while also acknowledging that advanced coordination could easily have occurred. And that brings everything back to the three details that continue driving discussion. First, the card addressed Harry and Meghan together despite reports indicating Meghan was travelling alone. Second, the captain's personalised anniversary message suggests prior knowledge of the occasion. Third, airline policies acknowledge systems capable of providing personalised customer information that could potentially support such recognition. Individually, none of those points proves anything extraordinary happened. Together, however, they form the foundation of the questions people continue asking years later. Supporters see a thoughtful anniversary surprise. Skeptics see evidence suggesting preparation and coordination. The available public information allows room for both interpretations. What is clear is that the card remains visible. The social media post remains available. The articles discussing the gesture remain online. And the questions surrounding how the moment came together have never completely disappeared. Even now, people continue looking at the same photograph and reaching entirely different conclusions. Some see kindness, some see planning, some see both. That is why the BA269 anniversary card continues to generate discussion long after the flight landed in Los Angeles. And now the question goes to you. After looking at the wording, the timing, the captain's note, the media coverage, and the explanations offered so far, where do you land on it? Do you think it was simply a heartfelt gesture from airline staff recognizing a famous passenger's anniversary? Or do you think the evidence points toward a moment that may have involved advanced preparation before the aircraft ever left Heathrow? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I genuinely enjoy reading the different perspectives people bring to these stories, and some of the best discussions often happen there. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit the like button. It helps more people discover the channel and join the conversation surrounding these royal headlines and media moments. And don't forget to subscribe. There is much more coming, including the next chapter in this series, where we examine several Sussex candid moments that surfaced through remarkably similar media channels over the years. Different headlines, different occasions, but according to critics, a very familiar pattern. You won't want to miss what's coming next.